Hello, I'm Kathryn Brentnall, Principal at Doncaster College. It's a great pleasure to welcome you to our first virtual open evening for parents and carers. It's really disappointing because at this time of year I'd normally be meeting you in person and showing you around our fantastic facilities and meeting our equally fantastic staff. So we know it's been difficult to choose the right place to study, and I'm really pleased that you're here tonight because your young person in your care's chosen Doncaster College. This decision's been even more difficult this year by the pandemic, and I hope many of you did have a chance to visit the college at one of our pre-COVID open days. But if not, to give you a bit of a flavour of the college, I'm going to share some short videos tonight as we go through this, talk through life at the college and tell you a bit about the changes that we've made and summarise what you can expect in September. If you have any questions or anything you are unsure of, you can post them during the webinar, and if you can please leave your name and contact details, either email or telephone. If they're general questions, I'll try to answer them at the end, but if they're more personal, one of our team will get in touch, and so please do leave those contact details. Our primary role as an FE college has always been to support students into employment, whether this be through an apprenticeship, on a traditional classroom-based qualification, or by participating in higher education at our university centre. There are many different starting points and aspirations, and we know how we can provide the high quality teaching and learning with excellent industry standard facilities and highly qualified staff, many of whom continue to work in the sector they teach in. When anyone visits the college, the most common reaction we get is, wow, I didn't know it was so big, well equipped and so welcoming and friendly. So let's just run a short video to look at some of our facilities. So here we are at the hub. Any of you that are familiar with Doncaster will recognise the building at the end of St George's Bridge. It's usually thriving with hundreds of students that are participating in a range of activities, and our student base is everything from 16 all the way up through adult courses, apprenticeships and higher education. Most of the time students will be in their classrooms or in their training workshops. But what are you seeing now as some of the common spaces around our really well-equipped Learning Resources Centre? And that's not just a traditional library, that is about real support for those academic qualifications. The two different sorts of painting you see in there, one is our traditional painting and decorating, one is our media makeup, and you will also see some of our students participating in a variety of performing arts, with the animals down at Aston Springs Farm. And we don't actually have an aircraft and a runway at Doncaster College, but we do have a fuselage and very good links with Doncaster Airport, all of which really helps our students. We have links with Club Doncaster for sports. So in addition to the normal vocational experience, our students can have a wider social interaction, those really important interactions that help transition very often from school to work, but if not, from one level of education into another. And you can see from the variety and the way that our students are engaging, our feedback is wonderful. We have really high achievement rates. Our students have done very well this year, even though we've been remote teaching. And our normal end of year shows sadly are not going ahead when we get a chance to see the performances and some of the work that's been done. And our graduation ceremony in October will be postponed, and it will be later than we would have liked, but we will do everything we can to still celebrate that success and continue to work with our students and yourselves to make sure that they are participating in that really important education. We realise that September is going to be quite an anxious time. So what I want to talk to you about is some of the things that we've done to help make changes to our facilities. So within Doncaster, I think we're one of the few colleges that's got an escalator running up through the middle of it. We also have lifts for those that are not able to use stairs, but we're making plans to make sure that there are lots of one-way systems and that classrooms at the moment we're looking at all alternatives, whether it be 2 meters, 1 meter plus, 1 meter. It's quite a challenge at the moment, but we are looking at all those opportunities. We want to move to the next slide. What that will show is something that we've now become really familiar with, but what we will be promoting at all aspects, which is that need to continue to take personal responsibility for your own hygiene. And so we will be putting up not only these posters, but if we go to the next slide, we will be looking at areas and practical areas having their own risk assessments, store areas, for example, accessed and managed by staff, doors propped open on student arrival and departure, looking at one-way circulation routes, looking at how we sanitize surfaces. The list goes on. The next slide will just expand on that a little bit more in terms of the way in which we want to still make it a very welcoming opportunity for students to come and participate. We don't want it to appear to be a barrier. Do we want to go to the next slide? So again, we're not the same as a school. We won't necessarily create little bubbles of people, but equipment will, where possible, be assigned to an individual. And we're looking at the time that students are spending in class and in the wider college and at home. So just to give you a little bit of assurance that we are taking that health and safety really seriously. Next slide, please. So again, PPE comes up. We will look at the existing requirements for PPE are always the same. So those courses where you do need PPE, that will be normal. But as the government guidelines change and flex, we will do that as well. And we were working really closely with Doncaster Council to make sure that any early notification of any issues that we need to be aware of, we are really well connected and able to make those really quick responses just to make sure everybody's safe. Next slide, please. So just moving on to, something a little bit more cheery, I think, in many respects. We've moved really quickly online during the lockdown, and our students have continued to learn using materials on our virtual learning environment, and it's great to see the overwhelming majority have succeeded and achieved. We do hope that by September the worst of this will be over and we'll be returning to something approaching normal, but we're not planning that to be the case. We're planning for lots of eventualities and mainly that we're going to adopt a blended learning approach. Traditionally, timetables for students are structured around 3 days attendance in any 1 week. So in our planning, we're establishing principles such as spending up to 2/3 of the time in college, so 2 days, with the other third of learning taking place online depending on the course and the level. We'll focus on obviously prioritising the practical activities with some of the theory done online, but where you need those workshops and those access to those facilities, we know that you need to come in, and we know that there are other aspects of college life that are important to students, and we're looking at how we can support those too. And if the COVID situation improves further, we'll bring students into college more, but if we have a second wave, and hopefully not, we'll move more of our programmes online. And we do recognise that some students like working at home and others don't, and it's really important that students start that dialogue with their tutors so that we can achieve a balance that's right for the individual. In terms of the main programme, we're also providing lots of enrichment activities, including the sports teams and the chance to complete the Duke of Edinburgh scheme. I really would recommend this as employers love the fact that you've worked in a team, improved your communication, problem solved, managed your own learning. We also offer English and Maths resits for those who miss out on a grade 4. And our students have also completed over 75,000 hours of work experience in the last year. And we're hopeful that we can get a work placement, and if not, an adapted experience of work for most of the students, COVID allowing. There's also help with UCAS applications for those looking at HE, and don't forget you can now study for a degree at the University Centre in Doncaster. And I think that's really important in this time of uncertainty, that there is a local offer that means that some of the anxiety about moving away we can overcome. And it may be that either for students that have done a year somewhere else and may want to stay at home, or for people that are looking at the opportunities to learn higher skills and reskill while they're in employment, we can also talk about that. And then we're the largest apprenticeship provider in the region and the 5th largest in the country. So apprenticeship opportunities come back. When they do, we're really embedded with employers and in a good place to help progress to apprenticeships. We know that many students come straight from school, and obviously they've not attended school for the last 3 months. So each curriculum area is providing catch-up activities. And if you follow the September Starts Here logo on the website, you'll find work that you can start to engage with and help give you a sense of confidence that you're going to make that transition. And so hopefully following their application, the young person in your care should have looked around the college, met the tutor and have been offered a place. But if they haven't, that's fine. If you've not accepted an offer yet, do so. And if there's any problem, please add a comment and we'll get in touch with you to address it. We know that this has caused a lot of anxiety and uncertainty, and we've been working closely with schools to make sure that transition's as smooth as possible. GCSE results have been calculated by teachers in schools, and hopefully you will receive the grades you expect on results day in August. But if you don't get the grades you expect, then don't worry, you will still have a place at college and your tutor will talk to you about how we support you to meet your career's goal. And if you don't get a GCSE 4 or above, you can have that opportunity to resit in college. If your career goals change since you applied, again, don't worry. We have a very experienced careers team who can provide you with information, advice and guidance, and you can move courses or even vocational areas. So that's really a whistle-stop tour. And again, it's really difficult to do this online. I'm just grateful my internet connection's preserved throughout this. But what I'd like to do is try and answer some of the questions that have been coming through and try and give some assurance with that. So I'm just going to switch across to where the comments are coming through. So just bear with me for 1 minute while I make this work. Then I'll be able to see better some of the things that have been coming through. So there's lots of them. So I'll try and do my very best to answer them. But clearly, if there are some that I can't get through or that I'm not able to know, I'll let you know. So there's a question about progressing learners getting to know when we're going back. We're planning to start the new academic year in September, as you would expect, and your tutor, if you've accepted your place on your course, your tutor should already be in touch and talking about what your timetable might be. That might take a few weeks because as you understand, we're responding to changes in instructions and government guidelines. So I think the really important thing is to maintain that contact with your tutors. We don't close for the summer. The college is open 52 weeks of the year. So we're always open. And in that respect, there's always going to be somebody there, even if the particular tutor's not there. So there will be that continuing dialogue. Somebody's asked if applied and been interviewed, does that mean I'm fully enrolled? No, until you actually confirm that you're taking up your place, you are as what we call in application phase. So if you're in any doubts, best to check twice and just get that reassurance that it's happening. A question about giving students tours in real life. We'd love to be able to do that. And it may be that in some curriculum areas, they are able to do that over the summer to a greater or lesser extent. Much will depend on how things evolve. But we will be making extra effort in those first early weeks back in college that we put a lot of time into that induction period, getting you used to the college, the building and the infrastructure. Can you talk to someone about careers before I start? You certainly can, and the team will be very happy to do that. Lots of opportunities to make contact. A question about thinking of going to university but don't want to move away. Will the University Centre still be taking applications? Absolutely, yes. Although there is a UCAS cycle, we're very interested in talking to anybody that's thinking about higher education, and our higher education team, again, will be happy to do that. There are lots of contact details, but again, if you want to leave a personal email or a telephone number on this web chat, then one of the marketing team can get in touch with you and can make sure you're signposted to the right person. If you've applied and want to change course, yes, you certainly can. We know that COVID has made people rethink career aspirations, personal aspirations. So again, You may have applied for one course. If you want to change, you can go through that careers team, or you can talk again, leave some details and we'll get back to you. Lots of questions coming in. Again, similarly, the child's already a student and wants to move to a new area. Again, you can talk to your tutor, but equally, if you want to go in through that careers team, they can signpost some support and really make you understand what was wrong about the original choice and what might be better about the second. Applied for an apprenticeship. Yes, now clearly there are quite a lot of challenges around apprenticeships, with employers not necessarily wanting to take apprentices on immediately. What we're suggesting that people do is to contact us and look at some of our classroom-based courses as an interim solution, because as soon as apprenticeship offers come up, we can transfer you from a classroom-based course to an apprenticeship, which means that you have the opportunity to engage in learning and do some more development and be really ready when those employers come knocking at the door. Let's have a look what else we've got. Questions about not achieving the grades and not getting on the first choice course. Will that be addressed during GCSE Results Day? Yes, we expect that the schools will contact people online with GCSE results, and then there will be lots of questions, and we'll be set up on that day in August for lots of questions and answers. If you want to talk to your tutor about what happens if I don't get the grades, I'm sure they'll be very happy to talk about options and again, signposting careers. Thank you. Somebody said it's been useful. Will you do more of these? Of course, we're very happy. We've done a number of them. We're looking at one for a general induction, and we're also looking at one for our existing progressing students as well. We've been doing webinars for staff over the lockdown. And it's a really good way of keeping in touch, although I don't like being able to talk to people. It seems a little bit two-dimensional, but we'll do that. A question about I'm over 18, can I apply? Yes, we have all ages, and we have lots and lots of adults. And if you're over 18, we class you as an adult for funding. Then yes, please put in an application. I've only heard back about one of the courses. Does this mean I didn't get into the other one? I think I'm right in saying that if you make multiple applications on one form, that we generally process the first one as your first choice. If actually that wasn't your first choice, or you want to discuss the others, then some of the things that I've already said are just as applicable in terms of saying I want to reconsider the options. So what we tend to say is that the college is not full. Clearly that's true. We don't have the same constraints, I think, as a school, so we can keep recruiting, and if we have to split groups because we've got too many students to teach in one group, then by and large we'll teach two groups. Somebody asking about somebody being offered a place, how does she accept it? I think you just have to go back into our student services, so whoever sent you the offer, and just say yes please. And I think there's a question about somebody with restricted movement. So again, if you get in touch with student services and start that conversation, then we can deal with that on a more one-to-one level to understand individual needs. Because I realise there's lots of questions. These are quite generic, but there will be lots of people that have got something a little bit more specific. That's an interesting question. Do you have parents' evenings and parents' events for students when they start school, similar to evenings at school? Yes, we do. We encourage a really rich dialogue between young people between 16 and 18 and parents. We send reports home, and we do have attendance officers, and we do expect students to be in college when they're supposed to be in college, and we will be making phone calls if they're not, because not only is there an aspect of safeguarding, but as I said right at the beginning, we're preparing students to go into the world of work. And actually, if I don't turn up one day, somebody's going to be giving me a ring and saying, where are you? So I think in that respect, we take our responsibility very seriously. So yes, we would welcome any contact from parents, and we will, at certain times in the year, we will be sending stuff through to you as well. Are the a parent looking to change career choice? Other courses? Absolutely, there are. We can look at a range of courses. We run ESOL courses. We run higher education courses. We run a very strong access to higher education provision, which are designed for those people who didn't traditionally do the A levels but are looking for a university destination, very often at Doncaster in health. And so we can accommodate adult learners with no real prior qualifications. Our vocational courses are open to adults. So I would certainly recommend, and not forgetting our higher education. And adults can participate in apprenticeships too. They're not just confined to those 16 to 18-year-olds. So we do have quite a lot of adults on apprenticeship programs. What happens regarding the electrical engineering course currently on normally attends Thursday, Friday. Then they may not be the same days as they've been used to. Much will depend on how the timetabling works and what we've got to look at in terms of maintaining appropriate social distancing and keeping people safe. So again, if the normal attendance pattern is 2 or 3 days, we would expect some of that, at least in the early stages, to be online. But again, if it's very practically based, we will be looking for that. But tutors should be starting in the next few weeks to come out and make it clear what the expectations are. I think you probably appreciate we're doing this in sort of real time as government information's changing, which it certainly was up to yesterday. Will you host a welcome event for students to help them settle? Yes, that's what we call our induction period. And even in a normal year, we spend a lot of time in those first few weeks really making sure that those students feel welcome and they know exactly. It is a huge building, but ultimately you're probably going to belong to a cohort of about 20 students, and very soon you'll get used to them and your tutor or your tutors. And although the building is quite sort of overwhelming in size initially, it's very well signposted, it's very structured, and students really settle in very quickly. In a normal year, we would be having what we call DC Fest. That's about the 3rd week in September, and we have a festival. Hopefully it's dry weather, but we have everything from helter-skelters to face painting to balloon modelers, and that's when students are able to have some fun with their new classmates. And unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be managing that, and that may be even beyond our wit to be able to do virtually. But you know, we're really taxing the marketing team's creative juices to come up with all sorts of different ways in which we can engage, and we will do our very best. And if students are feeding back that they still don't quite feel as though they belong, then we'll be doing everything we possibly can to address that. So I think that we've got pretty much to the end of the questions. As I said, it's open to you to continue to submit anything through this forum. Anything that you need to know, we have got telephone lines. Our website is a really rich seam of resources, and don't forget for young people to click onto that September start to find some materials that will get them back into learning. So thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening. I think the sun is still shining, although I haven't seen much of it today, so I hope you can have some time. And again, anything more you need, please do get in touch with us. Thank you. Good evening.